A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
Welcome into the Wicked Weed studio, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Tank Spencer. Jeremy Greene's alongside as always, and it's a Wednesday that has a bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
Literally. Old bug mouth over here decided to eat a bug, and it threw us all into a fucking
Look, it's not like I
wave.
did it intentionally. Come in, I crack open my ice cold Coca-Cola, sit it down, reach over to take a sip. Apparently there was a bug in the lip of the cup. And when I took it to my mouth, the bug went in my mouth and went psh, and it's awful.
It was 100% as funny as it sounds.
I've been gagging and spitting and hawking for
hilarious.
Ugh. It's not good, but we soldier on here on a Wednesday morning, and we got a lot to talk about. Of course, the big story, everybody's still following the crash of Tiger Woods in LA County yesterday. All we know is that he came out of surgery and there was a lot of reconstruction that had to be done. He basically crushed his right leg.
Yep.
Had to be removed from the vehicle with tools. They had to correct the original statement from the LA County Sheriff's Office that said that they had to use the jaws of life to get him out. I don't know what difference that really makes.
The coverage of this is the most annoying shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, if you're one of the people that decided to talk about his past transgressions yesterday, fuck you.
Yeah.
You do not have a place in the media if that's what you wanted to do. If you wanted to talk about that he was under the influence or something like that because he has a substance abuse problem, go all the way and fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And I could list about 40 of them in the media.
Mm-hmm.
That are officially on the dead to me list after yesterday.
The funniest one of all of them and the saddest one, because I actually respect this person very much in the sports media, is Sarah Spain of ESPN. And last night on her radio show, she went through the setup of the crash and factual things that had happened, and then threw in there, well, there is a history of substance abuse, and you hope it's not that, and we shouldn't really speculate on whether or not it's that, but I mean, it is the thing. What I find really disrespectful is people talking about his golfing career. Oh, that's disrespectful. It's not disrespectful to bring up, that it might be his fault when we're all trying to still gather information. There's time for that down the road. Once we see an official report, once we hear something, then you talk about that.
Oh, and by the way, they were wrong. Just throwing that out there. Oh, and by the way, not only are you a schmuck, you were fucking wrong. So good for you. Good job. Journalistic integrity. And I will say this. This is a rant that I've had teed up for a long time. I love people that say people like you and I are not journalists because we don't have journalism degrees from Northwestern.
Right.
And then that's how you treat a day like yesterday.
Right.
Be honest with you, if that's what that means, I'm glad guys like me, you, and Pat McAfee don't have journalism degrees.
The thing that Sarah Spain was so worked up over is that people were talking about his playing career and whether or not he's going to be able to make the Masters and all of this. Like, to me, that's actually the more relevant conversation to be having than speculating or just, we don't want to speculate, but this could be the thing. That's called speculation, dumbass. It just drives me absolutely up a wall when people go, start jumping to those conclusions without any factual information to base it on. It's pretty sad. But I think it's also kind of sad that everybody, wants to immediately do the post-mortem on Tiger Woods' career. Because there was a lot of that going on yesterday. Every show you tuned into on the television, it was Stephen A. Smith talking about what an impact he's had on the golf world and the African-American community and the Asian community and just all of these things. Like, you realize he's not dead, right? Like, when the news came out, originally we were all like, oh, God, let's hope for the best. And then within, an hour of that hitting the mainstream, we were seeing non-life-threatening injuries and all. Once that comes into play, I think we can stop with all the post-mortem bullshit. Because there were a lot more people having those who is really the greatest conversations yesterday between Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus. to me, it's not really the time to
I'm
conversations.
okay even with that conversation. The fact that you take an opportunity while a guy is in surgery having his leg put back together to talk about his past transgressions, thank you. You have made it much easier for me to figure out whose content to consume because it won't be yours.
Yes. I'm not saying those conversations are insensitive about his playing career.
I'm saying they're stupid. I'm saying you're a dumb shit. Hey, all right, let me go a little further. I'm saying if your takeaway within 30 minutes of us finding this out is to start talking about past substance abuse and alcohol problems for Tiger Woods, you're a schmuck.
I agree.
You're a schmuck and you don't deserve the podium or platform that you have. And frankly, I hope they start taking the guy from CNN. I hope he's never on air again. And I don't wish people to lose their jobs. I really don't. You are a D-bag. And there is no nicer way for me to say it. If that was your takeaway of, they put a microphone in my face, what should I talk about right now? That's your choice. Off you go.
And it's also, kind of the problem of sticking the microphone in everybody's faces and saying, here, talk about this. You have no information. You have 5 minutes of information to fill a 40-minute show. But this is the only thing we do everything
perfectly.
No.
We literally went on air 7 minutes after this came out. We did 2 hours of this. And you know what our tact on it was? Give you the information we have and we'll let you know when we know more.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that's the right tact. I'm saying it's a hell of a lot better than what I saw. I was so pissed off by the end of our ESPN radio show yesterday that I just wanted to go home and not even watch live television.
Right.
I literally went home and would not turn on basic cable because if I heard it one more time, I was going to yell.
Right. The good news is it was non-life-threatening injuries. Bad news is, yes, there are some significant injuries to the right leg of Tiger Woods. And a guy who's already been dealing with health issues, this is going to be another thing that he's going to have to overcome if he wants to continue his playing career. The video that they showed, I don't know who it was, it might have been TMZ, or somebody had a helicopter out there, and they followed the path of where the car went, and it's unbelievable. It's like a 2-block stretch of how far that car skidded and flipped and all of this, and I don't know how he didn't take out trees.
The fact this wasn't worse is nothing short of an act of God.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to be really honest.
You look at the stretch of road that he was swerving and flipping and crashing on, there were trees all along that side. Like, it was road, I don't know if it was a sidewalk, but it was like an easement and then woods. And somehow his car skidded and flipped into the only open space that you could see along that side of the road. It's a miracle. And apparently last night on the news, one of the officials said, I was the first one on the scene, and when I got up to the window, he looked at me and said, I'm Tiger, and if I weren't wearing this, holding his seatbelt, I'd be dead.
Yeah, wear your damn seatbelt. I am a huge proponent of seatbelts. Just another
Always
example.
Buckle up. That's right. That's right. Click it or ticket. Remember.
By the way, our all gas no brake is in reference to the stupid slogan that the Jets have come out with, because we will be doing their off-season preview later in this show.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate hashtag. I didn't think about that in this context before we put it up, but that's probably not the best thing for this discussion.
It's in Jets colors, so I think it kind of spoke for itself.
Coming up later on, we will get to our next episode of the off-season files. We'll be doing the New York Jets, who will pick at 2 in the upcoming draft, and the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl losers. We'll give you all of the options for them going into the offseason, what they should and should not do. And Jeremy believes that there's a drop-off coming for Kansas City. And frankly, there is a window for it. There definitely is a window for it. The All-Stars in the NBA, the All-Star reserves were announced last night. So let's chop it up. Let's talk about All-Star reserve snubs. There's a lengthy list of guys who could have been considered for the All-Star game this year.
You could have made another team off the guys that got snubbed in the East.
Yes. The most surprising snub to you was blank.
I'll go Devin Booker.
Devin Booker?
Mm-hmm. Devin Booker's been fantastic. And the fact you don't make I'll be honest with you, I'll give you another one that's in the market that we're in. Gordon Hayward.
Yep.
The fact Gordon Hayward's not an All-Star is a joke. Now, who you would have taken out, I don't really know.
See, that's my problem is there's a lot of guys that I could go, yeah, I could see him as an all-star, and then you look at who got it over them, there's not really a place for them. I'm a big Fred Van Vliet fan. He's one of the best shooters in the NBA, in my opinion. He could have deserved a nod, or I guess he does deserve a nod, but you look at the East team, who would you put him in over? Ben Simmons?
Ben Simmons should not be an All-Star. Firmly. That's the one. There's no doubt that's the one.
Okay. And why? Is it just because Embiid's been otherworldly good this year?
Embiid's who gets the credit for me.
Okay. Well, he's the starter. And you had to put Ben on there because, based on talent alone, is Ben Simmons not one of the best 12 players in the Eastern Conference?
Is Simmons not?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I'm giving most of the credit in Philadelphia to Joel Embiid. And maybe that's a weakness with me, but I'm not the only one that said it. So I wouldn't have put Ben Simmons in. That would have been Gordon Hayward's spot to me.
Okay. The other ones, Zach LaVine. You can't make a case for Fred Van Vliet over Zach LaVine.
You can't make a case not for LaVine.
Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine's the only reason that team's even pseudo-relevant.
Right.
Stephen Tao said, I'm a Sixers fan, and I agree. I don't really get it with Ben Simmons. I can't wrap my brain around what it is that people see in it. And I'm going to say he's not a good player. I was one of the ones that firmly said, if Houston had come to me and said, we'll give you James Harden, but you have to give us Ben Simmons, my first response would have been, okay, you'll give me James Harden and what? Because it's going to be multiple other pieces. So, I'm not trying to denigrate the guy.
Right.
But there's no doubt I don't think he should have been an All-Star.
I think he's one of those guys that just, I guess the promise is so much more, the hype is so much more that you got to put him in. I don't know, but this was voted on by the coaches. So it's not like this is a fan vote. How did the coaches get it wrong? What is it about Ben Simmons that you don't like? Is it the fact that he can't shoot? That the only thing he can do is drive to the basket? Is his defensive game not up to snuff for you?
I just look at guys that were left off, and when I look at All-Star, I guess I look at more what would happen if you weren't on your team. And with Ben Simmons, I don't necessarily think a lot would happen. I think they're vaguely the same team with Shake Milton or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
I look at the Charlotte Hornets and go, if you didn't have Gordon Hayward, we would never speak of you because you would be Detroit Pistons irrelevant. He's been that good.
All right. And
Mike, I did forget one. Mike Conley, the fact he's not on this team's a fucking joke. And I told you this was coming. I saw this in I don't know how I knew this was going to happen, but I did. Mike Conley could very easily have been a starter and didn't even make the damn team. I don't root for the little guy very often, but
there are too many Jazz players.
He should have made it over all of them.
Over Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell.
Yes. They're the best team in the NBA right now, and it's because of Mike Conley. I would have thought the coaches were smart enough to pick him, but they didn't.
Yeah. No, Chris Paul made the All-Star team.
And I'm okay with that.
I don't know that I am. I like Chris Paul.
That team's way better than they've ever been before, and it's because of him.
True. But, I don't know. I guess it's more of an intangibles kind of a thing. To me, this seemed like more of a, this could be his last one kind of a vote.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
The Suns are, 4 in the West?
Yep.
It's in very large part because of Chris Paul. I thought Booker and Paul should have both made it, honestly.
Right.
But then again, I've always thought it's stupid that we only have 7 reserves.
If I were choosing between the two, I probably would have chosen Booker.
It would have been close for me. I have no issue with either one of them being an All-Star.
Right.
After I thought about it, it's Mike Conley. I don't know why I started with Devin Booker. Mike Conley's the one that pissed me off. Well, I got off on a tangent about people and the way they covered Tiger Woods, and
I was gonna bring that up next because he is the one guy that you said 2 weeks ago on this very show, or last week. He ain't gonna make it, and it's gonna make me angry. Right. That he's the guy that's gonna get overlooked.
Well, this is what happens when you play in a small. I would love to say this is what happens when you play in a small market, except for the fact there's 2 of your teammates on this team.
Right.
And Rudy Gobert, it's Conley to me, and it's not close if you're debating those 2.
Who else? Are there others? Is there? I mean,
that should have.
That should.
A lot of people got pissed off about Bam Adebayo and Chris Middleton and. I'm okay. I know.
De'Aaron Fox.
Bam's team sucks. I could have told you De'Aaron Fox wasn't going to make it.
Right.
The next time a King makes it will be the first time in like 8 years. I think Chris Webber was their last All-Star.
Hey, but at least a Knick made it.
Woo-hoo, that's what I'm talking
about. Of course.
I mean, you got a New York Knick.
I jump off the bandwagon, and of course, they have an All-Star.
Julius Randle makes his first All-Star appearance, which is, I mean, really, it's like a complete rebirth for Julius Randle playing under Tom Thibodeau.
Oh, yeah. Well, because he's more efficient now. Thibodeau is so smart defensively, he's found a way to hide the fact that Julius Randle couldn't defend me. But it doesn't matter. He's been so good offensively that, I mean, he was a no-doubter to me. I didn't see any way he wasn't going to make it.
I just still love all the
Mike Conley.
I brought this up this morning. Could you think of the last New York Knick that was an All-Star? Because that franchise has been so bad for so long. It's actually not been too long ago, but they don't have him anymore. It was Kristaps Porzingis, 17-18. He was the last All-Star that the New York Knicks had.
Hey, he's the latest player to unfollow his team on Twitter. 4 this week.
Bye-bye.
4 of them. That's been a story 4 separate times this week.
There's no loyalty anymore. Nobody has any loyalty left. I think, I don't know. I mean, people like to jump to conclusions when things like this happen. If you're on the outs with your team, it's a good sign that you're going to leave.
Oh, well, he's not going to leave. He's going to be sent away.
Well,
there's a huge damn difference. The thing with Porzingis, it hasn't worked with Luka.
Yeah.
By the way, fuck you, Luka.
What
Did you see the dagger he put in Boston last night?
I did not.
Oh, I love Luka Doncic so much. Yeah. You know what I don't love? The fact that I everywhere said bet the Celtics last night.
Yes, he did.
And it looked at least pseudo-promising until then. Now, granted, the Mavericks had led the entire game, and had I been right, it would have been the backdooriest cover you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
By the way, if you didn't check out the first episode of Bet Your House, not literally, it was on YouTube yesterday. It will debut about 12 o'clock every day. That's our betting segment for YouTube Live. My 6 best picks of the day. We'll be doing another one today. So make all the money. First one, I went 3-3. Gonna do better today. I went a little deep divey today.
Spicy. Nice. Speaking of gambling, speaking of contests, you want to talk about our March Madness contest?
Yes.
The March Madness contest is coming. Jeremy's been putting this thing together.
I have to. Craig James said it's super petty to unfollow your team on social media. 100%. It's the most passive-aggressive bullshit in the world. And it drives me nuts. There's very little in this life that makes me angrier than passive-aggressive. Like, oh, I'm mad, but I'm not going to tell you I'm mad. I'm going to go on social media and I'm going to post cryptic memes. That's what dudes that wear affliction T-shirts do. When they have issues with their girlfriend.
Yes.
What do you do when you're not enough? That's what Kristaps Porzingis. Like, I swear to you, Kristaps Porzingis could have posted a meme that said, "What do you do when you're not enough?" And I wouldn't have hated it any more than I hated him unfollowing the team.
He's just sitting in his room listening to Louis Capaldi songs, just rocking.
I don't know who Louis Capaldi is, but I'm assuming it's something
fucking insufferable.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's something in the Enya Sarah McLachlan realm.
It's a new guy that I can't stand his voice. You would look him up. Just Google him. You'll know who I'm talking about.
The only vision I had of Kristaps Porzingis was him sitting in his bedroom listening to Enya songs, looking at pictures of Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic, like was it Wolverine when he's got the picture frame in his head with the. Whoop.
Yep. But I think a deal will be done there. I think they'll be able to get a lot for him. Don't you?
For Kristaps?
Yeah.
Not really.
No?
No.
What would the haul on that be?
On Kristaps?
Yeah.
Allegedly, they talked to the Warriors yesterday, and I've racked my brain trying to figure out what it is you could get from them that would be worth Kristaps Porzingis. It's Klay Thompson. I can't figure out. There's no other path. You're not taking Draymond Green's dumbass.
No.
I don't think James Weissman's enough by himself.
The draft pick. They want Minnesota's draft pick.
By the way, I have to say the comments are on fire that we've had 3 dating sites posted in the last, and one of them came from my wife, with the comment, "You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com." Nice. Apparently, Teddy Bridgewater broke up with his girlfriend.
I didn't see that.
According,
he's planning on moving out of town. Is that the gag?
Yeah, that's.
He's breaking off all his relationships in Carolina because it's not going well.
You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com. Woo! All right, back to talking about contest things. This has been the most hyped contest that we've never talked about in the history of time.
Exactly. The March Madness contest, and it is going to be. Well, explain it to them, how it's going to work, because you're going to have, like, your points, and everybody's got points.
It's not points, it's credits. Okay. The name of this game is Build Your Bankroll.
Okay.
This is from poolpartypools.com. They will be our official, pool game sponsor starting in June. But they have a game with March Madness. Basically what happens is you start with a bankroll. And we haven't figured out what the number is yet. I'll let you know that one soon.
Right.
I'm trying to do the logistics of if you went perfect, how much can you win? Because it could theoretically be a shitload. So I need to make sure it's not like I won $47,000 from 2 guys that probably don't have that cumulatively.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't want to do that. But the way it'll work is that you'll get an initial bankroll. Just the fact that you subscribe to us on YouTube. All of our fans are going to get a free entry. You just have to submit it.
Right.
Now, here's where it gets a little fun. If you have bought hats out of our merch store, that adds $5 to your bankroll. That doesn't sound like much, but it changes the prize drastically. Any of those things. There will be qualifiers that will determine what your starting bankroll is. The more involvement you have with the show, the higher your bankroll is. So what happens is every day, however much your bankroll is, you can bet that on individual games. If you want to bet $5 on Gonzaga, feel free. You can bet $100 on Gonzaga. You can only use the dollars you start with every day one time. So if you start with $50 in a day, you can only bet $50 in a day. If you want to bet that on one game, more power to you. If you crap out, you are out.
Right.
That is the only way that you can be officially out of the game.
Do you play till you have no more money left?
Yes. Is it if you bet it all? If you bet the house on Gonzaga and they lose,
which you should,
you're out. If Gonzaga loses, there is going to be pandalirium in this. But basically, you determine your own prize. Whoever wins, your final bankroll is your prize in cold hard cash.
Yeah, then we'll be picking the games every day of the tournament. You'll be able to start with the money every day, but you got to get your bets in before noon.
Yes, they have to. And the lines will come off of the Caesar Sportsbook.
Yeah, because we will be going by point spreads.
Yes, You have to bet this against the spread. Did you think it was going to be so easy that you could just bet Gonzaga every day? No.
Yeah.
But this will be a fun contest. The way it works is, and we'll update it every day on the show. You'll be able, with the little beer mug over here, we'll have the top 5 every day. So you'll be able to see who's up top. And this is going to be a fun game. We've got a couple sponsors that will be working with this. We'll be able to announce those in the coming days. I think we have one of those hemmed up right now with another that should be done today.
63 games over a 3-week period during the tournament, and it's just a different way for you to, it's kind of like a confidence score kind of a thing.
Kind of, because you'll go into a day and let's say Gonzaga doesn't play until 10. Then if you put all your money on that, you're not going to know anything.
Right.
And then you won't definitively know what you have to play with until the next day. So there's some strategy to it. This is going to be a fun game.
Duke, bet early on Duke. That's my
Losing?
No.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win a couple of games in the tournament.
They very well could.
I think they are a team that has finally figured something out with Jalen Johnson being gone. They play better without him. Old Jim Boeheim was right.
Well,
suck it, Jay Billis.
The thing we wanted to do is come up with a way to do a contest that if the first round went poorly for you, it's not just over. We wanted to find a way to keep you. What's the word I'm looking for?
Active.
Involved.
Yeah.
Involved is the word I was looking for. And I think this will do that. Jonathan Welch said, "Earn top fan." Then we'll. I love smack talk. I can't give you extra credit for smack talk, but I do thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah. And Kevin, no, Duke is making the tournament.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. They got Louisville. What is it? Louisville next.
Louisville,
Then
Georgia
Carolina.
Tech, North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. They got. I
I like the
winnable
chances
games
of
in
them
there.
making it. Let me put it that way.
I mean, think about it this way. It at least adds a whole lot of intrigue that there wasn't in the first matchup between Carolina and Duke. That last game of the season is actually probably going to mean more now than it ever has. I know a lot of times they're battling for like number 1 seed in the ACC tournament or something like that, but this is like do or die time. Because Duke kind of has to have every win that they can. Oh, see, now I just got more excited about it, thinking that if Carolina can just beat the dog shit out of them, we can knock them out of the tournament. It might be the best win over Duke ever. If you can be the team to keep them out of the tournament. I'm liking this more and more the more I think about it. But they are a better team, and I'm glad they're finally coming around, because that is a team that, even though I talk shit about them, I respect the hell out of Coach K, and I hate to see them not be in it, because I think it's better when all of the big teams are good.
I love the shit talking that.
Oh God.
I love the shit talking that's going on in the comments right now. Kevin Vick just said, "Which one of y'all have your own damn bell?" Kevin Vick Memorial Bell. First person to ever have a bell named after him that didn't die.
Memorial. Love it.
I love it. I love you people so much. I really do.
Vying for supremacy within the
I love
comment
it.
section.
I love it.
Follow, like, and share us on all the social medias.
I do have to say this, by the way. I also love when people meet us in public and they say they love the show.
Yes.
There is always my first instinct. We did radio for so long that nobody knew what we looked like. And so sometimes it does take me aback of how the fuck did you know who I was? That just happened. We just met Adam Black the other day for the first time. And I felt like such a jackass because when he walked away, I looked at Tank and I was like, how the hell did he know he went? And he went, "We're on camera, dummy." Oh yeah, there's that.
Pretty much. We've been.
Oh, now, but wait, we could have talked about things instead of me being completely confused as to how you knew who I was.
Oh no, he did the right thing. He said, "I just wanted to say, hey, I'm going to eat lunch." Like, you can hang around and talk with us when you see us out in public. It's not like you're going to keep us from anything.
No, it's not like we do a lot.
I always feel like some people are uneasy about when they see somebody they've seen on on television or heard on the radio. Like, I don't want to monopolize your time.
Yeah,
no, it's fine.
Yeah, we still thoroughly enjoy that. So don't feel we're good with that.
Right. Anything else to get to before we get into the offseason files of the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets?
No, I got nothing.
No, all right, let's get back into it. The offseason is going to be a big friggin' deal for a lot of teams in the NFL, especially the ones that have money. And only one more team in the NFL has more money right now, according to Over the Cap, than the New York Jets. The New York Jets have the number 2 pick and a lot of money to deal, to fill a lot of holes, because they have a lot of holes. They
don't have as many as you think they do.
Man,
there are players on this team. And now, granted, Jeremy, the Jet fan's a little biased, and I'm not even gonna lie and say I'm not. But the Jets, they are probably the most influential team in the offseason. And I say that because we don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
There's a possibility that the Jets wind up with Deshaun Watson, Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson as their quarterback. I don't think there's a path to anybody else.
No, that is the path.
I like how I'm blending into the background because I'm wearing a Jet shirt.
At least we're not on a green screen. Then we won't be able to see you at all.
Yeah, I would just be a floating Jarrell head. My son.
Those are the only 3 options at quarterback for the Jets. And
I believe so, yes.
They are kind of the linchpin here for everything. They could set the market on all of the free agents, because like I said, I believe they have a lot of holes to fill. And it all starts with that number 1 position, the quarterback position. Are you going to make the smart play, and are you going to, or I guess, play it safe and not spend a whole lot of money and keep Sam Darnold? Are you going to completely commit to developing a new quarterback in Zach Wilson? Or are you going to, bite the bullet and trade assets away for Deshaun Watson, who could make you relevant for a long time?
If you, and I've waffled on this a bunch of times, if you made me make a prediction here, I believe the starting quarterback next year of the New York Jets will be Deshaun Watson.
Nice. Finally,
I do. I think it's Deshaun Watson.
I think it is too.
I finally come around.
That's the splash move. That's the move.
It's the only move that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't think the compensation is going to be as much as you think it will be. I think they'll give up 2. They'll give up Sam Darnold, and they'll give up both of Seattle's picks.
So the late first-round picks this year and next year.
And then you're done. It's over. And, basically...
That's a respectable haul.
Well, and the way that I would look at that is, so you got those 2 picks for Jamal Adams.
Yes.
So basically you would be giving up Sam Darnold, the 2nd pick in the draft, and Jamal Adams.
For Deshaun Watson. A 25-year-old quarterback who is widely considered to be one of the best 6 quarterbacks in the league. Every time I get pushback when I say he's a top 5 quarterback, there's no one that can say I don't think that he's outside the top 6.
It would be hard to. People say a lot of things. Kyrie Irving thinks the earth is flat, so don't ever doubt what people can say.
So everything hinges on that. So that would be a trade that would be handled before the draft. All of that comes into play. What else do you do in the draft? Or should we start with free agency?
With the Jets?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it starts with free agency because you're going to fill holes. You'll fill holes there.
Okay.
I said yesterday on the ESPN show we went position by position and broke down, or team by team and broke down who could get a franchise tag.
Yes.
Marcus May will get a franchise tag if he is not re-signed by the Jets. And I don't even think it's debatable. He was team MVP. He's going to be back on this team.
Yeah, the number's at about 10 million, 10.8 million, I think it was. That seems like a pretty respectable number for a guy who's been pretty good.
I agree. I have Marcus May as a top 10 free agent.
I mean,
this year.
on an open market, Marcus May might get, what, 14?
Yeah, 12 to 14.
Yeah.
Problem is this year, and I'll be honest with you, there's going to be some players that want to be tagged because they like their chances of going into the open market next year better than they do this year. Because May's going to be one of those guys that I look at as, in a normal year, you would get that. I don't know that you're getting that now. I don't know that he could command that right now.
I think there
are a lot of safeties on the market, for one.
Yeah, I think what they obviously would like to do is to sign him to a long-term contract. 4 years at $12 million, 4 years for 48. Would you be happy with that?
I'd be all the way in for that. I mean, for me, that would be great.
Okay.
Now, whether or not they're going to do that. And one of the things that you do have to chalk up here is that Joe Douglas got burned last year. He had a rookie GM mistake. He overplayed his hand with Robbie Anderson and lost him for a pretty fair market deal. I don't think he's going to do that with Marcus May again. I think he will learn from his mistake. They'll either franchise or long-term deal May. Then they dive into the free agent waters. Here's what I can tell you definitively they're going to wind up with. They're going to end up with one of these pass rushers, whether it's Yannick Ngakoue or Bud Dupree. Shaq Barrett, I don't think is going to hit the open market.
No.
Von Miller, somebody like that. They will end up with one of those guys. The Jets haven't had a pass rusher in as long as I can remember. They do feel good about some of the young guys. There aren't a lot of corners. So I would say corner is probably a position you attack in the draft. I'll tell you another guy that I like for the Jets a lot is Carl Lawson from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
He fits that 4-3 scheme just so well. And that's what Rob Salah does. Other guys to look at for the Jets, Jaylen Brown, the linebacker from the Titans, he fits this scheme well. I think the thing you have to understand about Salah is there are not a lot of pieces on this defense that fit what he does. So the Henry Andersons, Avery Williamson's already gone. There are just not a lot of guys that fit this scheme. Jordan Jenkins is a guy that I like a lot, but he's not a 4-3 player. So I think he's going to end up walking, which is unfortunate because he's a talented player. This is going to be the big player in free agency. And the reason I say that is that they're going to have, if not the most money, the second most money, once all the dust is settled. And this is trying to sell players on playing in New York as opposed to Jacksonville.
So the secondary is the number 2 target for you?
In the draft. There's not a lot that you could go get. I mean, in terms of corners, you could overpay for kid from the Rams. Alex Sander will tell me in a minute. I can't remember.
John Johnson?
No, the corner.
Oh, the Williams.
Is it Rodarius Williams?
I think so.
There's a kid in the draft and the kid from the Rams, and they have damn near the same name, and I can't keep them apart. The other thing that I promise you they will do is no matter who the quarterback is, they're going to sign one of these receivers.
Yes.
Whether it's Juju Smith-Schuster is the one that has always been linked to the Jets, but that's because of Sam Darnold. If Darnold's the quarterback, they will sign Juju Smith-Schuster. You mark my words. Remember, Darius Williams. Thank you.
Darius.
You mark my words. If Darnold is still the quarterback, Juju Smith-Schuster will be a Jet.
Okay.
They played together at USC. They're very good friends. They've always wanted to play together. Also, one of the reasons I thought Sam Darnold would be the next quarterback of the Steelers, but apparently Ben's coming back, so that's not going to happen.
Wide receiver, I think you got to have 2 wide receivers on this team.
I don't necessarily agree with you.
Because Jamison Crowder and, Denzel Mims is a great young piece. But Jamison Crowder, he's got a year left on that deal?
No,
2 years?
It's $10 million. He could be cut, though. I don't know how well he fits into LaFleur's system, and that scares me. LaFleur likes to use a lot of pre-snap motion. Curtis Samuel is a guy that fits the Jets epically well if they were to cut Jamison Crowder.
Right.
I don't know that they're going to do that. I think it's still too early to say that, especially when he's your best playmaker. One thing I will say, watch this for the Jets. Just remember I said this, and this is something that I've heard in passing. If one of these teams, let's say the Deshaun Watson thing doesn't work out. If one of these teams becomes infatuated with a quarterback, Carolina Panthers. I think I swallowed a bug like Tank did earlier.
Stop saying that.
Don't be shocked if the Jets trade down from 2 and take Kyle Pitts at 8. Just something that was floated to me. Just something I've heard.
But Chris Herndon.
I like Chris Herndon still has a spot. Kyle Pitts is a matchup nightmare, and Mike LaFleur really likes those.
Ryan Griffin does not.
Ryan Griffin, he'll be on the team too. He's a good blocker.
He is that.
The Jets have to wind up with 2 playmakers, and one. It would be great if one of them was a running back. A couple linemen, although I do think they actually have I think the tackles are fine. I'm fine with Fan. I'm fine with Mekhi Becton.
Yes.
It's the interior you need to work on.
The guards have to be the priority.
And here's the thing. In that San Francisco system, that pulling zone blocking system, it's more important how agile you are, not how good of a blocker you are. Always remember that. So you can see the Jets make some total money moves for cheap guards. Pat Elflein, I think, could be one of the ones that starts for this team. I think the Jets could very easily be a playoff team next
So
year.
not necessarily.
And that's not me being a homer.
So not necessarily in the market for Joe Tooney.
They'll call. I don't think they'll pay it because you don't have to pay. I mean, it helps to have great guards. I don't think you're paying what Thuney wants. Thuney wants $16 million a year, which is insane for a guard in a system like this.
Right.
So I don't think they'll pay it. They might. They'll be in on everybody.
Right.
And when free agency cracks open on March 17th, you're going to hear the Jets involved on everybody. Number one thing you need to know, where does Joe Douglas go at midnight? Or at 4, I think the league year actually opens at 4 this year. Mm-hmm. When 4 o'clock rolls around and you're legally allowed to talk to players, where is Joe Douglas? That will tell you who his number one target is. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's Schuster. I don't know if it's, I mean, it could be a lot of guys. It could be a lot of guys.
Kenny Galladay.
Maybe. Wouldn't shock me.
Chris Godwin. All of those guys.
Godwin would
will
shock
be in play.
me. Godwin's the one that would shock me.
And why is that? Just because of the scheme
fit? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see the scheme fit there. You have a very poor man's Chris Godwin right now in Jamison Crowder. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to cut him, and I don't understand why you would do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it will be one of the big outside receivers or a pass rusher.
Yeah, the Jets have
if they fall in love with one of these pass rushers.
Yeah, the Jets have to be big spenders in the offseason, especially if they're going to go after the Deshaun Watson thing.
Well, I mean, and they will be because they have to be above the salary, the cap floor based on how much money they left on the table last year.
Right.
There's only one team in the NFL that left more money on the table in 2020 than the Jets did. So, I mean, this is not they have money. But they have to be spenders. They don't have a choice.
Right, but with $68 million to work with, plus there's more.
Their usable cap's actually way higher than that.
The usable cap?
Yeah, because they have about $19 million in guys that have no shot of being on this team in a year.
Yes.
Henry Anderson's $10 million off the top, and he has no prayer of being on this team.
Mm-hmm. There are a couple of guys on that team that could be very well cut. Ryan Griffin, I think, is one of them. I mean, that would save you $2 million.
Yeah, it's such a small, pithy thing. I mean, they're going to do a lot of that because.
But that's what I'm saying. That those little chunks are all going to add up, and here you go. They've got the gap between number one in money and number two in money is going to get a lot shorter because Jacksonville's sitting there in that 80 range, and the Jets very well could make the cuts to be able to get up to that. They'll be a player for everybody, and that's why I say I think they are the most important team in the NFL this offseason because they'll set the market on a lot of guys, and they have the most capital to be able to move. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you're finally coming around to the
I just don't know where else he goes.
Watson
I don't see how it's anybody else.
Right.
I don't see how Houston goes anywhere else. And it depends on how in love they fall with the quarterback. Mm-hmm. If they fall in love with a guy and want Zach Wilson at 2, then the Jets all of a sudden have the best offer on the market and it's not close.
Right.
Because if you're Houston, you want to be able to control your own destiny if you fall in love with one of these guys.
All right, now let's go to the Super Bowl losers.
I like how you keep having
Chiefs.
to say it that way.
Well, of course. Why not? The Kansas City Chiefs, the runner-up in the NFL this year. They have no money. They are $23 million over the cap as it stands right now. They are going to be losing no big names because they've sewn up all their big names. They've got, I almost called him Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, they've got Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones, Frank Clark. Who am I missing? They've got all of the Eric Fisher. They've got their big names sewn up already. But what they're going to be losing is their depth. They will lose.
Which they didn't have a whole lot of to begin with.
Right. They will lose 9 starters combined this year. 6 on offense, 3 on defense. And the starters that they're going to be losing are the ones that they needed to upgrade anyway.
Daniel Sorensen, Brashad Breeland, just looking at guys that, Austin Ryder, these are the guys that played the majority of snaps. Andrew Wiley's a restricted free agent, but he'll be back.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an overly active team. I'm very curious to see what they do in the draft. I had Wyatt Davis, the guard from Ohio State, to them at 32 in my first mock draft. He'll be their pick at 31 in my next one. I don't see any way they don't draft linemen.
They have to.
You're going to get Fisher back. You can't. The problem with deals like Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and all these guys they have is that you can't afford anybody to get hurt. So think about what they did last year. They had Eric Fisher at left tackle. The rest of the line was guys like Kelechi Osemele and Mike Remmers that are low, very cheap veteran guys. Well, why are they cheap? Mike Remmers was cheap because he's not very good. Kelechi Osemele was cheap because he's been hurt for about 9 straight years. I think Kelechi Osemele got hurt in middle school and has never stopped being hurt. Right. So, but that's what you can get on these little low fringy deals. I mean, guys will will make concessions to be on a winner.
But that's the thing. They did this not this past year, but year before last when they actually won the Super Bowl. That was kind of their MO as well. Was that they just had these pieces that they could rotate around and they could mix things up. But a guy gets hurt, we've got enough of these middle of the road kind of guys that we can fill these holes, much like the Seattle Seahawks have been doing. And we see how well it's worked out for them. Now, obviously, Kansas City's done a little bit better than that, but the Super Bowl just showed that's your biggest deficiency, is your offensive line. And now you're going to be losing the guys that are there. I think they should try to retain Reeder, because I mean, he was very, very good all season long.
He was, and they probably will.
I don't think he gave up a sack in the regular season this year. I think he took like 680-something snaps and never gave up a sack.
I think you're right.
So,
but you also have to remember, this is a team that can restructure a lot of money.
Yes.
Frank Clark, they can restructure that deal and save almost $13 million. So I don't necessarily think you're going to see a market regression. You're going to see a regression in Kansas City. There's just no way around it. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to go from the best team in the NFL to some also-ran that misses the playoffs. Stephen Tao said in the comments he thinks the Chargers win the division this year. I've said the same thing. I'm not confident enough to definitively say that. I want to see what the Chargers do. But I like the Chargers a lot. New coach. This is a team that lost, 9 games by 1 possession? So you're not alone in this division anymore. Let's say Denver winds up with Kirk Cousins, like I've reported on this show. Now the division is way tougher than it was. And I think that's going to be a problem. And Kansas City doesn't have the depth. I don't see the dynasty that everybody was worried about. I don't. I mean, I think they're going to be very competitive for a very long time. But I don't see 3 Super Bowls in 6 years or something like that.
I think it could happen.
I
think they're at the point that they have enough stars and this front office is smart enough to be able to get these deals. But you've pigeonholed yourself into doing what you've been doing. Now it worked. You've been to the Super Bowl the past 2 years. It's pretty fucking good. But how long can you sustain that? How long can you continue to have these $1 to $2 million offensive linemen and expect that to gel and work year after year after year? You're constantly on this chasing values. I mean, I think what's the doctor is if the doctor Duvernay Tardif. I think he's going to be a big decision. If he decides to come back and play, that's going to be a great improvement for this offensive line. But they're still going to have 2 other holes to fill, and Wyatt Davis makes a lot of sense. That would make a great addition to that offensive line. And then you just got to hope you get one of these guys on a sweet deal, because again, you're $23 million over the cap. What are you going to do? How are you going to bring somebody in that's not a rookie? It's going to take a lot of gymnastics, but hell, we didn't think that they'd be able to have this many $20 million guys on their payroll anyway. and they figured out how to make the money work last year for Chris Jones. Remember how shocked we were when the news came out? Oh, they found a way. Well, wait, they were over the cap. How did they do that? Oh, well, they moved the money around.
Because they're cap magicians.
Right.
They're not going to lose the high-end guys. What's the problem is that you're going to lose guys like Daniel Sorensen and the glue guys that keep this shit together.
Yep.
The biggest thing Kansas City has to improve, and we saw it in the Super Bowl, it screamed at you in the Super Bowl. They have one of the worst linebacking corps I've ever seen.
Yep.
This is a team that if they could wind up with a Xavier Collins or a Nick Bolton out of Missouri, I think they would be thrilled to death with that. Linebackers not great in this draft. That's one of the biggest deficient positions in this draft. But I do look at a guy like Xavier Collins, who I have way higher than everybody else. I have him in my top 15. So not where he goes in terms of value. He would be a great fit here, and this is about the range that he will go.
I think they need to figure out a way to get another receiver in. You're going to lose Sammy Watkins. And
I'm
I
not
don't
so
know that
sure
you
you're
have
going to
your
lose Sammy Watkins.
Really? You think he'll sign for a minimum?
I think he's going to
deal?
have to because he's been hurt for about 10 straight years. And from what I hear, he likes it in Kansas City. He's bounced around. This is his third team. I'm not positive that Sammy Watkins sees. Plus, let's be honest. There's not a lot of money out there.
True.
Right?
True.
All right. Where in the pantheon of receivers would you put Sammy Watkins in this free agent class?
Oh, I would say he's probably about 12, 15 in this class.
I don't have him that high.
Really?
No. I mean, think about how many. Here's my list of free agent wide receivers: Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kenny Golladay, Will Fuller, Antonio Brown, Curtis Samuel, T.Y. Hilton, Marvin Jones, Corey Davis. That's the 10 that you can't. Nelson Aguilar. So there's 11 that you can't even debate. There's no debate that Sammy Watkins is better than them. Then you get into this D.D. Westbrook, Tim Patrick, Rashard Higgins, Brashad Perriman, Josh Reynolds, A.J. Greene, Terrell Williams tier. They're all the same guy.
Right.
And Sammy Watkins has the highest ceiling of all those guys. He also has the lowest floor because he could play 6 games in a year and just be perpetually hurt. So, no, I mean, I don't see a team coming off big money for him. I could see Sammy Watkins signing a 3-year deal for $15 million. And it wouldn't shock me in the least.
Right.
Just wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
He's also 28 years old. He's a 28-year-old injury-prone wide receiver that's on the most fun team in the NFL. I could see him going, you know what? Money's not that important.
It would be a smart move for him. I just don't know if he has illusions of grandeur that he's going to get a bigger deal somewhere else, that he can go and get $6 to $8 million from somebody.
He's a guy that I think is going to hit the market with the intention of getting more money, find out how lukewarm the market is, and then come back to Kansas City and go, hey, the 3-year, $21 million deal sounds awful swimming to me.
Winning cures a lot of things. It definitely does. But as a team that has been in the Super Bowl twice in the last 2 years and is the runner-up from this past one, I think their future is pretty solid. It's not hitting yet. This regression that you've been hinting at, I don't think it's coming next year. I think they're still 2 years away from an actual problem. Especially when Pat Mahomes' contract balloons up into $47 million.
I mean, absolutely. So let me ask you this. You think they can be as good next year as they were this year? Because that's what regression means.
I think it's close.
So you think they're going to go 14-2 again?
They could be 13-3.
That's a regression.
Okay. But
I think they're closer to 11-5, but that's just me.
If you go from being number 1 seed in the AFC to the possible number 2 seed in the AFC, I don't consider that necessarily regression. Yes, it is on the books, but
it's actually the definition of regression.
But when you say
if you
regression,
look up regression in a dictionary, it would be what you just said.
But it doesn't matter. It's not a regression that matters because they'll still be in the hunt. When you say,
I'm not saying
this is a team that's going to regress, I'm thinking, so this is a team that might fall out of the playoffs. Absolutely not.
No, that's not a regression. That's a catastrophe. Do you realize that they would have to lose 5 more games next year than they did this year to fall out of the playoffs? That's not going to happen.
Of course not.
I'm saying there's going to be a regression where they're not this vaunted superhuman team that nobody can stop. I think they're closer to 11-5 than they are to 14-2.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything they can do to fix that.
Yep.
But I do look for them to draft. The draft is going to be where that's going to be their home run swing because they have to find some cheap talent. They do have picks. I think you're going to see linebackers. I could see them doubling up on linebacker. You got to remember with the line, too, they do get back Mitchell Schwartz, who's the right tackle. They'll get back Eric Fisher. They do have
Reader.
That's another one I was thinking of. Andrew
Duvernay
Wiley
Tardif.
and DuVernay Tardif.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a market improvement to the line right there. What they would be looking for is more depth, and there are a lot of depth linemen in this draft that beauty can be in the eye of the beholder.
All right, tomorrow on the off-season files, we will bring you the outlook and the options in this offseason for the Houston Texans.
Ooh.
Yeah, and for the Buffalo Bills. We'll be with you this afternoon on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. The Sports Tank with Jeremy Greene every weekday afternoon at 3, brought to you in part by Ingles and Wicked Weed Brewing. We are live from the Wicked Weed Brewing studio, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene.
Yeah.
And we'll see you this afternoon.